Good morning. It's 4 minutes after 10 and you are listening to James O'Brien on LBC. And breathe. Seriously. It's not a game, is it? Realise on days like today, it's not a game. We all fall into the trap sometimes of thinking it's a game. How many people this morning casting around for someone to laugh at, someone to hate, someone to fear? That's all a game. All that matters is that a semblance of respectability is restored to our country. That the things that we can all agree on remain or return to the front and the centre. The idea that no one is above the rules, no one is above the law, nobody gets preferential treatment on a constitutional or institutional level. You are, if you like, looking at a government that intends to serve, that sees duty as a public issue, not a personal side order that runs alongside ambition. I never know what I'm going to feel like at the start of a programme, even on a completely normal day. I never know what's going to come out of my mouth when the red light comes on. I knew this morning that Nina Simone would would kick things off because we made that decision before we came in. But beyond that, I've got nothing. I've got absolutely nothing. I feel rinsed. I feel washed out. I feel shattered. I feel exhausted. And I feel, for the first time in a very long time, I feel some hope. Keir Starmer is not marching into Downing Street upon a tidal wave of enthusiasm and support. This election has been lost as much as it has been won. But you cannot look at him and his front bench and feel anything like the trepidation that you felt when you saw people like Boris Johnson and Liz Truss assuming the highest offices in the land, neither of whom now are MPs. An extraordinary reflection of just how remarkable this result is, just how remarkable all of this is going to be. I don't think we are even in the foothills of processing the scale of what is underway. Our electoral system has never looked so fraught or so fragile. We are in a multi-party system now, with the Green Party securing 4 seats and Farage's latest bandwagon also securing 4 seats, although such is the nature of the UK media that I won't be surprised if rather more attention is given to one of those phenomena than to the other. And yet the first past the post delivers an extraordinary 34% or so of the vote the Labour Party have got, and they'll end up with about 65% of the seats. But right now I don't care. I don't care. I think that we are hopefully poised to see a return to normality. And that's what's been missing, isn't it, for the last 14 years, or certainly the last 8 years. Normality. If you can hold on to the truth, even if you are the only one, you will not go mad. And the truth has always been that people like Jacob Rees-Mogg had no place in our public discourse. Maybe on the fringes of the backbenches, spewing their unevidenced bile and doing their Victorian cosplay. That's fine. We're a great country for eccentrics. We've always been able to indulge and accommodate eccentrics. Same with Jeremy Corbyn, returning to his rightful place as a sort of troublemaking backbencher. Nothing but grace this morning for the people that you might have woken up expecting to feel angry about. A quick word, in fact, if I may, for the people who are casting around desperately for things to get cross about today. Let's just take a few weeks off, shall we? Should we just take a few weeks off from looking for the negatives instead of hoping for the positives? I saw messages this morning which were from the left of British politics, trying to pretend that this is something other than significant, trying to pretend that this is something other than a big victory for Keir Starmer. The numbers are inarguable. The victory is immense, but the business of governing is not about scoring goals or winning elections. The business of governing is ugly and detailed and difficult, and that is what is about to commence. Glance towards Scotland, if you want a brief flavour of just how violently the order of the last 14 years or more has been turned upside down. And listen, you look at some of the people who are leaving Parliament now. You hear the mealy-mouthed, the smallness of hard man of Brexit, Steve Baker, in the news bulletin there. And I don't know why, but even then, even the people that I have come close to hating over the last few years, I think I'm too tired to hate them anymore. Just bye-bye, Jacob Rees-Mogg. Bye-bye, Liz Truss. Bye-bye, hard man of Brexit, Steve Baker. Bye-bye. Don't let the door smash you on the backside on your way out, but just don't, please, bother us anymore. Dorries has already gone. Gullis has gone. So many have gone, and yet we have very little idea of what is going to happen next. It's 10 minutes after 10. You are listening to James O'Brien on LBC. A Labour landslide has occurred, 410 seats and counting for the Labour Party. The Tories reduced to, well, it's more, isn't it? It's 412 now, and the Tories reduced to 120. That dreadful, meaningless phrase, supermajority, will be on the lips of Conservative losers up and down the country. A devastating night as their support collapsed on a scale that is generational, a scale that is existential, a scale that has actually never really been seen before. The arithmetic of our parliament, the nature of our democracy, I almost can't handle this. The imbalance between the percentage of the vote and the percentage of the seats in Parliament is I mean, to outsiders, to people who live in a country with different electoral systems, it will be absolutely stunning. The SNP off a cliff, almost out of Parliament entirely, down to 38 seats, is it? I mean, these figures are staggering, absolutely staggering. But we don't know what happens next. All we know really is that it's over. And that's where I am going to allow myself a moment of freedom, liberation. I think that we have almost, during our time together over the last few years, we've almost underestimated how terrible some of these moments have been. The detachment from truth, the abandonment of reality, the normalisation of lies. How many times have I sat here and said to you, what do you think the worst thing was? What do you think the pivotal moment was? Or if I'd been in a coma for 10 years, could you possibly explain to me how this has happened? That's not over yet. That's how, these things are not reversed in a nanosecond. They don't change with a change of government. The work that Keir Starmer needs to do begins really with reputational rehabilitation of politics itself, of Parliament itself. The idea that they're all the same is palpably untrue. The representation of the, I think it's time to, speak in fairly clear terms. Racism is now explicitly represented in Parliament. The return of 30p Lee after his outspoken Islamophobia, there are reasons to be worried. There are reasons to be concerned. But the first thing that Keir Starmer has to do, in my view, is restore the reputation of politics itself. This is a country in which Liz Truss could become Prime Minister, in which Boris Johnson could lie and lie and lie again to the House of Commons, not just with impunity in his own mind, but with impunity from the Fourth Estate, with impunity from the media that is historically supposed to represent the people in speaking truth to power. How many people in this profession tickled Boris Johnson's toes as he embarked upon these appalling abuses of power and democracy itself? So I think we'll start our new era together. And as you can probably tell, I'm a little bit dazed. It's a tricky one, isn't it, to know where even to put your foot first on a morning like this. What's the first step that you take? But I think we'll start with what Starmer needs to do. And I don't mean in terms of policy. I don't mean in terms of waiting lists or economic growth. I mean in terms of something that we touched on a couple of Thursdays ago when we talked about the need to restore faith in politics itself, in public discourse, in democracy, and crucially in Parliament. How does he do that? Because that's his first and arguably greatest challenge, is to turn this country back to a place where you could vote, your vote could not win. You could vote for a party that didn't govern, but you wouldn't feel that the party of government was alien to what you held dear. I don't know why I think of John Major quite a lot at times like this. The idea, as someone who has always lent towards the Labour Party, John Major didn't feel like someone who wished us harm or who was going to prioritise personal wealth and ego and ambition over the national interest. Somebody who would lie with ease and impunity to Parliament and to the people. So Starmer's first job, actually, is to restore faith in politics in a way that would be good not just for him and his party, but for the Conservatives and for their party. One of the most gracious speeches of the night was from Jeremy Hunt, the outgoing Chancellor of the Exchequer. Some of the most poignant images to have been broadcast so far this morning involve him leaving Downing Street with his young family. He spoke last night of his children and spoke of pride in the fact that we have a change of government under way which is not violent, which is a consequence of votes and freedoms and things that we perhaps take for granted because we've never known any different. And speaking of people who've never known any different, there's a generation of voters out there who've never lived under anything other than a Tory government. So what does Starmer need to do first? How does Starmer attack the idea that they're all as bad as each other? How does he begin, if you like, to rebuild the democratic system that we grew up with, where you could hate many of the things Margaret Thatcher did, but you knew that she was acting from conviction. You might have despised her convictions and despised her ideologies, but it wasn't self-interest that propelled her. It was ideology and conviction. Cameron, Prime Minister, because he kind of couldn't really get a job in the city or because he thought he'd be good at it. The idea that these people have gone into politics for faith in the national interest has been laughable forever. Starmer's imperfect, Starmer's flawed, Starmer's many things to many people. He's not the Messiah, but he's certainly not a very naughty boy. And that's his first challenge, really, is to somehow, I hadn't clocked this, actually, until I sat down with you this morning. That's his first challenge, isn't it? He's got to fix politics. Can't fix the country if he doesn't fix politics. Got the populist snarls, the nativist snarls, unbaited on the fringes. He has to fix politics before he can fix the country. So it's 17 minutes after 10. I don't know what we're going to do between now and 1 o'clock. Your guess is as good as mine. I think that company is important. I think it's lovely to be together. I can feel your metaphorical arm around my shoulder, and I hope you can feel mine around yours. If you're angry and bilious and vituperative, try and take a morning off. Just try and reflect upon what would be in everybody's interests at the moment, not just the Labour parties, not just the governments, but what would be in everybody's interests? What are the things Keir Starmer can do that will help steer us back to a place where, albeit that we support different teams or play for different teams, we can all agree on what the rules of engagement are? Albeit that we fight furiously to defeat our opponents and our oppositions, we can all agree about the shape of the pitch on which we play, the parameters of reality, the requirements of truth. How does Starmer get us back to that? How does he begin even the process of returning the United Kingdom to a place where everybody, regardless of their political affiliations and loyalties, would recognise immediately that people like Liz Truss and Boris Johnson have absolutely no place in a functioning, normal, healthy, representative democracy? 0345 6060 973 is the number you need. It's an odd question, I grant you, but it's, I think, the most important question of all. He's got the numbers, he's got the landslide, he's got the majority that allows him to do more or less everything he wants. What do you want Keir Starmer to do first? Hit the numbers now, you will get through. And I wonder who's going to be the first caller of the new era.